The reality is that when we talk about women, Muslim women, but also women in general, we need to be able to have more conversations with the government. A lot of what's happening right now is that things are not transparent. People aren't being consulted on these bills such as C-51 that are being rammed through Parliament, even despite the fact that people like Zarka Nawaz here and others in this room have been very vocal about the challenges that poses to our community. So we need to be at the table as representatives in the House first and foremost. We need to be able to then be present and then actually make sure that we have individuals like you in the rooms that actually have a voice at the table, whether that is through community consultations or otherwise. Thank you.
It's 2050 and it's a time that we hear from our women. That's why the debate on women issues was going to be held, and it was cancelled because Stephen Harper and Mulcair backed out of that debate. Justin Trudeau said that we need to sit down and discuss women issues. Women issues are not just women issues, they are everyone issues. The role a mother, a sister, a wife plays in a home, that makes a family. And Liberal Party is talking about middle class families, not just the people who earn over $200,000. Under Liberal Party's plan, we will be giving tax breaks to the families who earn less than $140,000, and the Canada Child Benefit will be income tested. The need is that people who need more, we need to give them more, not to those people who already have it. The Universal Child Tax Benefit is going to the families who have billions and millions of assets. What about those people who are struggling to have food on the table? The daycare program for the NDP will not be arriving in the next 8 years. The spaces, and even that is based on that the provinces have to pitch in 40% of the cost, are a $125 billion infrastructure in the next 10 years will mean, out of that 20 billion will be allocated to the social infrastructure, which will mean better daycare facilities so that mothers can work. We have made changes in the EI programs so there can be 18 months of leave for the mothers if they want to go and look after their kids.
So I see Nat here is also trying to get in. Do you want to respond to
Thanks. So I think it needs to go back to, the question was, how are women going to have a voice at the table? So let's focus back on that question at hand. And the question is not only women, but how are all sort of marginalized communities going to have a voice at that table? So the question goes back, what is the role of your MP? Constitutionally, your role of the MP, your member of parliament, is to be your voice in the House of Commons. But that doesn't happen anymore. The MP now is a talking post for the leader back to you. And that's why our democracy is broken, and that's why voices are not getting up. Instead, voices are just coming down to you and telling you what it is. So the Green Party is the only party that will never whip its votes, which is why I am at all of these events, because I'm speaking on behalf of the community openly and honestly, using the Green Party platform as a basis, but however, I'm allowed to speak. I don't have to constantly refer back to talking points and say that Elizabeth May says. Because Elizabeth May says a lot of great things, and I agree with almost everything she says, but there might be a few that I don't, and that's okay. In order to have everyone's voice at that table, we want to establish a Canadian Council of Governments where we bring the federal, municipal, provincial, Métis, First Nation, Indigenous communities, and all other marginalized groups, and bring them together and have conversations that are focused on what Canada should be and what Canada can be, and follow our democratic process instead of just sitting back in the background, allowing the leaders to dictate what we should and shouldn't be talking about.
Thank you, Nat. I'd like to go back to this debate that was emerging between the different approaches to helping families. Now, my Liberal colleague here, now we may have political differences, but as a Muslim woman who's running, I salute you, I applaud you. I think this speaks not only to your courage, but also to this country in which we live in. So thank you, very much. But my Liberal colleague, today said that the universal child care benefit is something that only helps out those with billions and millions. And this is a common theme that the Liberals are trying to impose and trying to bring up. That the Conservatives are only helping the super rich. The universal child care benefit actually helps every single family.
Kareem, I'm going to ask you to address the question of what will you do to engage Muslim women in policy discussions that affect their lives? That's the question.
In order to engage Muslim women in the political process, I think it's important that we say loudly and clearly, we do not look at you just as women, we do not look at you just as Muslims, we look at you as individuals. As complex individuals who have your own opinions on foreign policy, on tax policy, who have your own opinions on whether or not this country should be running deficits on economic growth. So I do not think today that any single party has a monopoly on women's issues. I do not think that any one party speaks for all of the women. I respect women too much for that. I know that women disagree. I know that we, just like everyone else in this room, we have our own opinions. And I think that it starts with saying, hey, we need more people running. We need to start these conversations. And I'm very proud that we're having a conversation like this today. Thank you.
I'm going to move on to the next question. We've talked a lot about engagement in the political process. What will your parties do to engage young people, especially young women? Because we do want to focus on women, but youth as well. So that's the question. Whoever wants to tackle it first.
Sorry, just want to clear.
Yes, in the political process, yes. It's civic engagement.
I think because I'm sitting first, the mic will a lot of times start with me, and I'm okay with that. Engagement in the political process. So I'm engaged in the political process right now because I'm not in it because I want a paycheck or I want a job. I'm in it because this is a platform for us to speak. The democratic process only works when people start voting for it and believing in what they really agree with. And that's what it comes down to. Right now, when you ask youth if they're voting or not, or if you ask anyone if they're voting or not, it's not because they don't care, because they care. They truly, truly care. I'm an educator, I work in the education system, I work with youth on a daily basis. That's my job, it's my role. People care. It's not that they're apathetic. It's they're afraid of making a mistake. And I understand there's so many organizations out there that are doing some great work in trying to engage people, but the fear of strategic voting, coupled with the fear of voting for the wrong person, coupled with the fear of everything that's happening right now, people are afraid of making a mistake. So what they do is that, I don't know if I vote for the red, then the orange might win, and the blue might win, or the red or the orange, and then all this sort of conversation is happening within their own heads. And on October 19th, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to be the one that accidentally lets X win. So they walk away from their vote. And I think that's the biggest fear, that's the biggest concern we have right now, is that people need to get out there. It doesn't matter who you vote for. Honestly, get out there, get your name crossed off that electors list, so the government knows that this community is voting. They got no clue who you voted for, but they know you're voting. They know you've gone out. You might have spoiled your ballot, but you've gone out there and you've taken that chance. And when you walk away from that ballot box, just be happy with it. Be happy that you've done your civic duty and your responsibility, and that you've done your part.
I'm going to ask somebody else to respond to that as well.
Thank you. So as far as engaging young people in the process, and particularly Muslim women, it's absolutely important for us to have representatives within each party who actually represent, or actually not just visibly look like us, but also can speak and understand the true concerns and challenges that we're having as Muslim women. And that's very important. So my job as running for the NDP has consistently been to actually meet with women, meet with them at the doors. My job has been to ensure that I can actually talk about the challenges, the real challenges Muslim women are facing, just like other marginalized communities are dealing with, right? Whether it's the issue of childcare, affordable housing, right? These are real issues that we need to talk about. The more we talk to people face to face at their doors about the things they're concerned about, the more engaged they want to be in the political process, right? Right now, that's our biggest concern. The fact is that, our politicians aren't hearing our voices. They're just there, they're talking, they're using their talking points in a lot of ways just to be able to continue to maintain the status quo, and that's not okay anymore. It's unacceptable. We need to change. We need to bring Canada back on track, whether it's local issues, like I said, the childcare and the housing, or whether it's actually, looking at foreign policy, but reestablish ourselves as a nation of peacekeepers. That's really important to us.
Thank you, Farhid. I'm going to move on to the next question.
You can get to speak on that.
Well, okay, very quickly. We're going to have to get through a lot.
We should have the same time.
Sorry?
We should have the same time.
You know what? It's a discussion, so over the course of the panel, I'm sure that will happen. Thank you.
I'm a mother of two youth, a 17-year-old and 15-year-old, and I know how important it is to engage our youth in our political system. I'm very proud to say that I have over 150 youth involved in my campaign who are majority of them are Muslim women who have been engaged with me in the last 18 months, and now they have started raising their concerns, their issues, what is needed. I know our youth employment rate is double the average of our unemployment rate. That's why we recognize that our future economic prosperity relies on youth. We will be spending 1.3 billion in the next 3 years to create 120,000 jobs for our youth, 40,000 jobs for our youth every year. That is important, so that they don't, like they are getting out of the universities with a heavy debt and they don't find jobs. We have to create opportunities for our youth so that they can find appropriate jobs and be involved in the system. Once they have jobs and they are involved, they will become a part of political system. And I'm very proud that I mentor a lot of Muslim women and young boys so that they are involved in a political system and their voices are heard.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for asking the very important question of how we can involve more young people in the political process. Now, I happen to know something about this. I'm 28 years old, I'm one of the youngest candidates in the country, and I can tell you full well that it is tough for a young person to get engaged in the political process. Now, I didn't ask people to vote for me because I'm young. I asked people to vote for me because I'm ready to fight against people no matter how old they are, how experienced they are, and I think that this serves as an example to young people right across the country. I often tell people, if you want to engage young people, stop treating them as young people. Start treating them like equal citizens, because they have opinions. They have opinions when it comes to foreign policy. They have opinions when it comes to public debt. They have opinions about the kind of country they want to grow up in. So stop talking to youth, start talking with youth. I also have the added benefit of running in a riding called University Rosedale, which is home to the largest publicly funded university in this country. And so my conversations with young people, I encourage them. I say, you don't need to play in the sandbox. We're not going to talk down to you. You need to roll up your sleeves and get involved in the political process, because this is your country too. This is your politics too. And I want to see more young people get involved, not just in the Conservative Party, in the Liberal Party, in the NDP, and in the Green Party, because young people are indeed the future of this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Kareem.